Well, hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the 8th conversation in my Disenrage series. I cannot believe I've had 8 conversations in this new series that I'm doing so far. I mean, we've had some amazing chats so far. We've talked to a priest in the Church of Satan. Last week, we talked with Jennifer about growing up in a Christian cult. We talked with Dan Smots about if Hitler went to hell. We talked with Joshua about what it's like to be a psychic. And we're going to have many, many more conversations in my Disenrage series, which is basically just higher level conversations about the world, spirituality, the human experience, things like that. If you have people that you would like me to bring on the channel, do let me know. If anyone really interesting, I'm open to interviewing almost anyone, whether I agree with them or not. I really don't care, but definitely let me know if you have some suggestions, and I'll be happy to accommodate those. I've got a great guest coming on today, and we're going to introduce him in a second. But one of the things I actually really appreciate about my guest today is he is a member of my locals community, and how I got to know him was because he joined my locals. Actually, I think we first connected on Gitter, if I remember correctly. It started on Gitter, and then he joined my locals community, and he started coming to community Zooms. And we found out that not only is he a sarcastic asshole in the very best ways, but also actually really smart about the Bible and stuff like that. So if you want to come on the show and have a conversation with me as part of the Disenrage series, joining my locals and getting involved in that community might be a really good place to start if that's one of your life goals. And even if it's not one of your life goals and you just want to come hang out with really good people and help keep the channel running, you can do that by heading over to kb.locals.com/support, and you can join us for $5 a month or more if you want to. You can also join us for $50 a year, which gives you 2 months for free. You can also make a one-time gift, and all of that's going to unlock exclusive perks, including being able to get the full functionality of locals, including being able to come to our community Zoom calls. Our next community Zoom call is actually tomorrow at noon. So you can definitely join us for that if you sign up, and that would be really, really great. Couple other announcements I have before we get started is, per usual, because this is Tuesday, it is not the last stream I will do today. It is but the first stream I will do today. And we do have the regular show coming up with Joshua at 9:30 p.m. Nothing remotely controversial. Come and join us for that. It's news, it's psychics. It is a lighthearted view of the news and what's going on in the world. And we just have a ton of fun with it. Even if you don't believe in psychics, that's totally okay. You can still come and join us. And we have a really good time. So that'll be 9:30 tonight on the channel. But before I even get to that, coming up at 8 p.m. tonight, we have the very first part of the 2-part series that I'm doing with Gabrielle Clark, Overcoming the Effects of the Gender Cult, Desistance from Rapid Onset Gender Dysphoria. If you have kids in school, you're going to want to come to this webinar. If you are unavailable at 8 p.m. tonight and you're like, oh, Carlin, I wish I could come to this webinar, but I just have something going on. It's a last minute thing and I just can't make it. We are going to be recording these. So if you sign up for the webinar, you will not only get access if you are available for the live event, you will also get access to the recording. So you can watch it on your own time, and that's still totally fine. If you would like to sign up for that, you can head over to activelyunwoke.com/events. It's also on the activelyunwoke.com homepage. And again, guys, if you have kids in school, you're going to want to see this webinar. I promise you, Gabrielle knows what she's talking about on this. She is one of the, I know this is awkward for her to say, but the leading world experts on how to guide children out of desistance from rapid onset gender dysphoria. Like, legitimate medical doctors and therapists are looking to her. There we go. Her for advice on how to do this stuff. So you can get it right from the horse's mouth yourself by signing up for that event. And we're going to get started around 8 o'clock tonight. And then at 9:30, after that, we're going to go live with Joshua. And then I'm probably going to go to sleep because that's a really, really, really full day. All right. Without further ado, I want to bring my guest for today on the channel, and he is going to do a great job of introducing himself and telling you why he's here. But I'm really excited for this conversation about which Bible is the right Bible. Brent, welcome to the stream.
No, thanks for having me, Carlin. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Do you want to explain why you're here today?
Yeah, it's pretty much a history of translations, mistranslations, and how a lot of churches over the history of the world, I mean, we're talking, even pre-Jesus, have pretty much distorted and kind of just turned the Bible into a confusing mess for a lot of people.
Well, and I'm really glad to have this conversation because I spent a lot of time, probably about 15, maybe 20 years ago. God, time becomes a mystery at some point. But like I used to actually spend a lot of time like trying to figure out like, okay, who was actually the historical Jesus? What did the different Bibles say about like what Jesus's words were? I had whole binders of things where I was like comparing and contrasting the different Bibles. And then I gave up and I moved on to something else. But normal people who are who are like interested in this stuff, like you actually have gone way more in depth than I am. So like maybe you can help me sort this out.
I will give a disclaimer first and foremost. Like, I don't have like a degree in theology, and some people may agree with me, some people may not. Whatever. My sister actually does have a degree in theology and has literally preached across the world, but I am not her, and also we disagree. But
Well,
anyway,
I think though with like this sort of stuff though, it's like I don't think you even need to have a degree in order to be an expert in these things. You just have to read a lot, essentially.
honestly, with most things, all you have to do is read a lot and practice
Yeah.
a lot, and then you become an expert. And I am not an expert. I did not say that. Shut up. All right. But yeah. So, do you want an intro from me? Like, who the hell I
Yeah.
am? Why am
Who
I here?
who the hell are you and why are you here?
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm Brent Lewis. Recently in California. Now I'm in Texas because well, fuck California. Um, yeah. When I was about 9, 10 years old, I had some Mormon missionaries come to my house, and they converted me, but not my family, which was fun. So pretty much my parents would go drop me off at the Mormon church, and then they would leave and just pick me back up in a couple hours.
Wait, Mormons, hang on, before we get into this, Mormons are allowed to convert 10-year-olds?
Well, my parents were there.
Okay.
So like they would enter the house. I wasn't alone with like two guys like, hey, little buddy, you like Jesus? That was not the issue. So nice
I
guys. My parents were there.
I used to actually have the sidetrack. I used to actually have when I was living in Montpelier, Vermont. This is like when I was like right after I graduated from college. I was single, I was bored, and I used to actually have Mormon missionaries coming over to my house like once a week to teach me about Mormonism. And I was kind of scheming on doing this whole thing where I was gonna like fake join the Mormon church just to find out what went on inside the temples. And they had to bring chaperones. They had to bring an older couple with them every time they came over to my apartment because they weren't allowed to be alone with me.
Well, that's actually appreciable. Yeah, so I support that.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Anyway.
yeah, after that, pretty much I got like baptized, and they had a Boy Scout program, which is the main thing I was interested in. So I was like, yeah, cool. I'll go to church, and then I can go camping on the weekends. Awesome,
Oh,
possum.
that's how they got you. The
Oh
camping.
yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And whenever I hit my teens, like 13, 14, the whole puberty thing, then I was just like, you know what? I'm smarter than everybody, and God does not exist. So
Excellent.
yeah, I went throughout my pretty much high school just like that, an arrogant little asshole. I still am arrogant, but not as much. And then after high school, I joined the military, Air Force. Worked on B-52s, aircraft hydraulic pneumatic system specialist. I had a PRP and security clearance, so I could work around nukes. Um, then when I was after I got out of the Air Force, I was living with a buddy of mine, and he was into the occult quite a bit. Which
Okay.
when I say like well, I was partially living with him. Like I stayed there 3 or 4 nights out of the week, so I just started paying him rent. And like when I say into the cult, I mean like he had vials of pigeon blood in his
Oh,
freezer.
okay. Okay.
So like he would do some stuff. Yeah,
You
some
do
things.
what kind of a cult was it? Was it like voodoo?
Um, his was not too terrible, but he had some contacts that he would work with, and like
Like spirits?
yeah, spirits, angels, demons, bunch of stuff.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you don't live with him anymore. That doesn't sound good.
Well, here's the thing, and I was going to tell you a story about why I started to be like, hey, maybe God's real again.
Okay. Okay. Let's hear it.
Um, so pretty much one night, had a couple beers in me, as is the usual. Cheers.
Cheers.
And pretty much he's going like, yeah, I got to go help my like pagan buddy with an exorcism. So that sounds nice, right? And me
Yes.
going like, well, I got the night off. I'm bored. Can I come?
I
And
absolutely would have done the same thing, to be honest with you.
oh yeah, 100%. Like just
Yeah.
curious, like this is gonna be bullshit, but whatever. I'm bored. And so he calls his friends up, and he's like, "Yeah, sure, come along." We go to this guy's house, and it's on the outskirts of town naturally, because why wouldn't it be creepy?
Of course.
And then like you go into his backyard, which wasn't really a backyard, but more like a half-mile long like plot of land
Oh,
that leads
good.
to a train track. So
Mhm.
yeah, definitely not creepy. It's dark outside, and yeah, so pretty much the exorcism was on the homeowner. His name was Barry, and Barry was a unique individual, Hispanic male. Cool, nothing against that, but he did have a little messed up eye, which was because apparently he put a rifle, an SKS, up to his chin and pulled the trigger.
Was that
And
him or was that the demon that was being excised?
uh, I couldn't tell you. All I know is that that's what happened, and he had a
All right.
bit of a messed up eye because of that. And yeah, it came out through his eye as opposed to just killing him. And nice folk for sure. Like Barry had a girlfriend, and my buddy's with me, introducing me like, "Oh, it's my friend Brent. He's gonna watch. Cool." And then yeah, guy's brother, Barry's brother, shows up. All right, another nice guy, apparently also an ex Air Force vet. Cool. And then another guy showed up, and I don't know if you've ever seen anyone who has like you look in their eyes and there's like nothing there.
Yes.
Like it looks like they just have no soul whatsoever.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, it's like the second person I've met with that quality. One was another guy in high school, and that guy committed suicide. So
Okay. Okay. So you are having a great feeling about this entire situation.
oh yeah, fantastic,
Yeah.
fantastic. And sorry for the long story, folks. We'll get to the Bible shortly.
That's all right.
But pretty much, yeah, this guy shows up. He's actually a bruja or brujo, like a Mexican witch doctor. And well, they all agree to pretty much help out Barry with his exorcism issue. So they're in the backyard. They lay out a pentagram. They circle around him, all three of them. I'm just outside of the circle, like a good 20, 30 feet away, watching. And they literally just like nod their heads, mumble some words, close their eyes, and they sit there for like 30 minutes. Now the issue is while they're doing this, is that like every like 3 or 4 minutes, maybe 5 minutes, I don't know. I'm literally feeling something like over my shoulder, like someone's watching me, just my left shoulder.
All
So I look
right.
over, and there's nothing there. And it kind of seems like there's a presence in the ground, and that's happening like frequently. And then well, it keeps happening, happening, happening. 30 minutes goes by roughly. And then they ask me, like, hey, you can't enter the circle, but we need you to go into Barry's room, go into his closet, open up a chest, and then find this particular medallion, then bring it to us.
Okay.
Yeah, they also said there's a mirror in there and don't look in the fucking mirror.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Yeah, so yeah, it's just like, all right, well, this is already creepy. Late at night,
So, well,
bad stuff.
at least you've been upgraded at this point to like exorcism assistant or something.
Well, the reason is because they couldn't actually leave the circle because they were in the middle of casting a
Mhm.
spell or doing an exorcism, whatever. And so, yeah, I go into Barry's room, enter the closet. I avoid the mirror because I'm already a little like, what? And then go through. And as I'm going through this little like chest, I pick up a feather and
Oh no.
just moving stuff around. And this feather actually felt like it was actually energized, like it was almost vibrating in my hand. That makes sense.
It does make sense. I feel the same thing with crystals.
Yeah, like literally, like everything else was just like nothing. I pick up this feather and I'm like, I don't want to touch this anymore. This is
Mhm.
weird. This has some awkward energy. So I place the feather down and I go and I find the medallion, bring it back, kind of just lay it outside of the circle. Cool, whatever. Um, yeah, they grab it. Great. And then I stand back where I was standing. And also, there was a cat that came along a couple of minutes later and laid down on Barry's chest because that's not fucking weird at all,
Mhm.
as he's laying down in the middle of a pentagram. Um, and yeah, and I just kept feeling this presence over my shoulder over and over. They go on for another like 20, 30 minutes. Then at the end, they stop, they exit the circle, they start talking to each other, and they say, like, yeah, we failed. Like, we couldn't do it. And they're just like troubleshooting their exorcism.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And then, like, they're talking for a good like 5 minutes about like what was going on wrong, what happened. And then, yeah, they all kind of agreed and like they point over towards like pretty much right over my left shoulder, we kept getting interference in the circle from over there. And so then I was just like, all right, I'm feeling it. Yeah, I get what you guys are saying. Yeah, it's a little weird. Maybe there's something more to life than just drinking beer.
So was that like an evil entity that was like over your shoulder?
It's hard to say because from my understanding was that and I was there for like another hour or so after this whole thing happened, as they were like debriefing and just trying to explain things, and some other weird little guy that I could trust me. And I'm looking at these guys, and this other dude shows up, and he's saying he's a caster as well, and I'm like, that dude's a fucking poser. I know that. These guys though, they're probably for real. And long story short is that I guess Barry kind of through like some sort of witchcraft sealed away like a part of his soul and pretty much hid it behind a bunch of nefarious spirits. For some reason, that's what he said. I don't know. I got nothing. I'm not a witch, not a wizard. And yeah, so it just made me think and start going like, all right, this is weird. And also, oddly enough, these guys also believed in God and angels and the devil and demons and evil spirits. So it wasn't like just one like pagan ritual. It was just like, yeah, we got it all. And we're not Christian. But we know God and angels are real.
Yeah. Angels are not a Christian thing. I believe in angels.
Well, I'm here.
So okay, so you had this experience where you attended a failed exorcism. You felt a presence kind of looking over your shoulder, and then you're like, yeah, God might be real, and started studying Bibles.
It wasn't like I was caught up in my own self for like years after that. But I had a buddy of mine too who was pretty much a newfound Christian, and it changed his life in the better in a drastic way. And go from somebody who's like just self-absorbed and kind of an asshole who doesn't realize what he's doing, and then he just kind of started talking, and I heard some of the stuff he was saying. I was pretty much trying to intellectually solve the problems that he had mentally with the Bible, which is pretty much the basic like atheist questions that you get about like how did God make the earth in 6 days or whatever.
Right.
And so from there, I just started investigating from an intellectual level, and then also with the curiosity of like, well, God could be real.
And so how did I guess what was your process for kind of looking into these sorts of things?
My process was kind of like, I know there's something out there because I felt it for sure. And then also as I started like reading the Bible, kind of just to have like conversations with him and kind of like help solve his problems. Then I started realizing that the Bible actually made a lot more sense. And then as I started digging into different Bibles, then I found out like, oh, they're fucking different. They do vary drastically. And which one is like the most correct? Which one is the actual fountain of truth as opposed to, just this blah, blah, blah that someone's spout out 200 years ago. Like Jesus was there, little 2,000 years ago. So maybe 200 years ago from, I don't know. What's his name? Guy who made the Mormon Bible.
Joseph Smith.
Oh, yeah, him. Yeah, that's the one. The Mormon guy that I was originally introduced to. So that's how I kind of got started on reading the Bible and, Bibles, and then kind of going through it. And I got to say, it's a very long process. So I caveat
the Bible's
here.
A long book. The Bible's a big book. A lot of words, small words.
Yeah. And then when you start getting to multiples of them, and then also like the different translations and how the languages shift depending on who is interpreting from what language to what, then it gets incredibly confusing. I got to say, I would challenge anyone to spend their entire life to do so. And if you did, you would still probably not have the right answers. But I do have some truths that I've found. So that's why I'm here.
Well, okay. And I definitely want to get into those truths, but can you give us like an example of, something that maybe exists in like, I don't know, like the King James version of the Bible that would be completely different in another Bible?
Give me 1 second.
Uh-oh. Gotta get a prop. Ah.
There's certainly plenty of that. Honestly, this is a Be Strong and Courageous. It's a devotional book. Honestly, I started talking about this like a couple weeks ago with my mom. She had this, and she was like, "Oh, well, these are not right." So honestly, Carlin, if you want to, you can pick a page.
I can pick a page between what and what? What
This
am I?
is the New Living Testament or New Living Translation and the New International Translation.
Okay, I want page 169 because, obviously.
That was pretty quick.
Yeah.
All right. I will fill the soul of priests with abundance, and my people will be satisfied with my goodness, declares the Lord. And then you go to the next one, and this is just translational issue. The priests will enjoy abundance, and my people will feast on my good gifts. I, the Lord, have spoken. So, like, it's kind of the same message, but it's different in the way you translate it. And, like, honestly, this entire thing is like 800 pages long, and pretty much every page is different. Like 9 out of 10 are different, and some are drastically different. Now, we'll give you a more. Now, this one actually like speaks to me a little bit more, and this is the King James, also the Catholic. Pretty much every single version of the Bible, and it's about witches. Like, have you heard like a "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live"?
Well, yeah, I mean that kind of came up during the Salem witch trials, didn't it? I would think.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
little bit.
And then you go to different variations, and they say it differently. Like, "Thou shalt not allow a sorcerer to live," and then other versions say, "Thou shalt not let a female sorcerer to live." So apparently they're sexist. And then "Thou shalt not let a sorcerer
How did
or
they?
wizard to live."
Wait. How did they even identify a female sorcerer?
Oh, God's will, apparently. Or
I mean, were there biologists back then? I don't know.
you're right. So until about 4 years ago, every single person was just omnisex. Now, but like literally just this devotional book between the New Living Translation, the New International Translation. If you want to pick another page, you can. If not, I'm just saying that every single one of them is grammatically very different, and then some are extremely different on their translations and messages.
Well, it kind of makes me think of this book that I have sitting on my desk right here, called, this is obviously not the Bible, this is A Course in Miracles, but A Course in Miracles exists because what people say is that Jesus was like, you guys effed up my Bible the first time I gave it to you, so I'm going to come back and we're going to get some things straight that you guys screwed up the first time around. And that's basically the basis of what this book is. It's like, and a lot of the things in it are actually very similar to the Bible, but it's more like just saying, you interpreted it incorrectly, here's the correct interpretation, go forth and conquer.
There was I think my favorite quote from Jesus, well, maybe not my favorite, but like a very impactful one for this topic is Jesus said, "Beware of the leaven," which is
as in bread.
Well, leaven is mainly like the yeast that makes the bread rise. And if you go into like the Torah and also like most Jewish studies, and was it Chana? She might be pissed if she reads this or hears this, but it's pretty much about like they'll take one paragraph of the Bible and they'll turn it into 2 or 3 pages written by 12 different rabbis throughout history, as far as like what its meaning is, and that's not really the essence of the Bible. It's supposed to be taken like relatively literally, but also it's supposed to be taken, well, it's supposed to be translated correctly. And so my issue is that most things aren't translated correctly. They've been perversed over time to fit the needs of man or men that controlled the time at the time.
Okay. Yeah, so Glinda in the chat is talking about how the King James version was written to placate King James the First of England and the Sixth of Scotland.
That is pretty much because he had to revamp it because he wanted to get divorced, which was like a no-go at the time. And then also his separation from the Catholic Church. So he'll get more power. Well, he gained more power because of it. And he's also allowed to divorce and get different wives. And all in all, the Protestant Bible, by the way, they actually have 6 less books than the Catholic Bible.
Hmm.
Like they just cut out some books, but trust me, the Catholic Bible cut out books too.
Well, okay. So let's cut to the chase. What is the correct Bible, and why?
I don't want to tell you initially, but I can go through
Oh God!
some things for you.
All right, go through some things.
All right, let me pull up some notes here real quick. So, yeah. So roughly right now, there's about 2,000 different translations of the Bible across the world. And when I say that, that doesn't mean like different languages. That means like in English, but different people.
2,000 translations.
Yeah, so different 2,000 different versions of the Bible are across the world, which is that sounds pretty bad. Yeah. You get the main ones, like you get the King James version that was written in 1613. The Catholic Bible that was pretty much introduced because, like, take into account like Jesus did exist, and he died when he was 37, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So roughly 37 AD, but they didn't actually have like a full-fledged Bible in the Catholic Church until about 382.
Is there any Bible that answers what Jesus was doing up to his like 30s?
Not to my knowledge. However, I have not read the books that were actually canceled by the Catholic Roman emperor who removed some books, 75 of them roughly, and 382.
Catholics always ruin everything.
Yeah, it was Emperor Constantine, and I think it was Constantine, but removed roughly like 75 books from the Bible. The two that I have not read that I really want to, and I just found this out like a couple of weeks ago, are Thomas and Peter. And the reason why they actually removed those books is because they talk about what Jesus said that didn't like meet their triumvirate of noble attributes for Jesus and God and being a saint.
Wait, so Jesus said some stuff that might have been less than saintly, and the Catholic Church's solution to this was to just eliminate those books altogether and pretend it didn't happen?
Yep. Yeah, that is correct.
Excellent.
Well, I mean, like, taking into account, like, the Catholic Church in general has been more political throughout its history.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the original foundation of it was actually, like, pretty cool and noble when it started off with, Christians being fed to lions and Roman arenas. But once, like, the church and the Roman Empire kind of merged, then it just turned into this quagmire, like, well, we have to control our people. And then also, we like the Jesus, but let's make some adjustments.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so, it changed quite a bit. Yeah.
So okay. So what kind of stuff did they remove about? I mean, you said you haven't read them yet, so maybe you don't know. But like what kind of attributes did they remove about Jesus?
It was him speaking pretty much not about. Well, it was him speaking more practically from what I've heard, but I haven't read it myself, so I don't want to say specifically. But it was pretty much him speaking more about God and more plainly, more directly, as opposed to him being like, everything he says happens to be wisdom.
Well, we definitely wouldn't want our gods to be, normal.
Yeah, so it's him being. It could be him being like, I got to take a shit, I'll be right back. Or it could be him like, just explaining a very simple thing like, hey, I'm a carpenter, let me fix your shed real quick, and stuff like that. But I haven't read it, so I don't know. Once again, I'm not a theologian. I have not spent the majority of my life on this. I've had an interesting life, and it's kept me busy. But there's just been a lot that's been edited out, and that's been throughout history. And like going back to more like the main day ones, like the Mormon Bible was written in 1829. Seventh-day Adventist was 1863.
I know that the Book of Mormon says that black people were cursed, but they don't like to follow that rule anymore, and they deny it exists. But it definitely said that in the Book of Mormon.
Yeah, there was pretty much black people. The mark of Cain was being black.
Mm-hmm.
So they were all gangsters. Yep. Yeah, they got their rocks and then they just murdered people. And I don't know why. Is that why they call it crack rocks? I don't know. But I don't believe in that.
Oh, we're definitely not going to get in trouble today. All right. So what other things were taken out of the Bible, Brent?
A very interesting one to me, and this actually goes before Jesus, and it's kind of controversial. There's the Book of Enoch. And
like Enoch, like Anunnaki?
Well,
like an alien?
it kind of has some ties, but not really. So I mean, you
Really?
could kind of go there, but you couldn't. Um, yeah, the Book of Enoch, like Enoch was actually the seventh descendant or seventh generation from Adam. So you get Adam and Eve, and then like, hey, seventh generation pass. That's Enoch. And then he was also supposedly the grandfather or great grandfather, I forget which one, of Noah. And so the Book of Enoch was pretty much they call him the unwilling messenger, and it's been written out of canon from pretty much every single religion except for a certain Jewish population, which I'll get to in a little bit.
Okay.
But yeah, the Book of Enoch is actually fascinating because it's pretty much he didn't want to go to heaven. However, two angels showed up and they're like, "Get over here, bitch!" And
Yeah. Stephen in the chat says Enoch, the Old Testament character who was taken from the earth without dying. That kind of sounds like an alien to me. Taken from the earth without dying, alien.
maybe. But the whole thing is, there was another guy who actually did go to heaven and described it, came back, and that's why they actually took him out of the Book of Enoch out of canon, because there was discrepancies in the description of heaven.
What did he say heaven was like?
It's the stupidest fucking thing ever. Enoch said that the floors were made out of a like yellow crystal, and then the other guy said that they were made out of glass.
Couldn't that be like this is a yellow crystal and could also be glass?
Yeah, you could see through them both. I mean, it could be the same thing, but that's like the major thing I've read for people disregarding the Book of Enoch, because this other dude said it was glass as opposed to yellow crystal. Anyway, yeah. So yeah, but he actually went to heaven and then described God in a very interesting way, like not being able to see him, but like describe like what's around him and
Like a
stuff.
presence, like you felt at the exorcism?
That he was like surrounded by fire that was so hot that no one could touch him,
Oh.
and having like robes that were the purest white. And then he also went apparently to his accord on a tour of heaven, and the tour of heaven was led by the two angels that picked him up. And supposedly, and you mentioned the Anunnaki, and is that they got into a horseless chariot that then flew across the skies.
That kind of sounds like a spaceship.
A little
Kind of
bit.
sounds like a spaceship to me.
Yeah, a little bit. And pretty much he got like a tour of heaven, which was very weird. And like the majority of his like tour was him just describing like, oh, this is a plant that I know that grows in this region. And this is a plant that I know that grows in that. And that is an apple tree, and so forth.
Okay.
It's an interesting book. It's actually fairly short. If anyone wants to read it, you can like pile through it in like an hour, 2 hours, depending on like how fast you read. Free online. But it's just interesting whether you believe it or not. Anyway, so like he had this whole thing come down. A lot of people don't believe it, even though he's like the grandfather of Noah and the seventh descendant of Adam, and they just disregard it. However, there is one group of Jews that actually do believe in it, and they happen to be the Ethiopian Jews, also known as like the Beta Jews.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, the Beta Jews. Historically, I found that they probably came from the tribe of Dan, which was an interesting tribe.
Dan.
Yeah, Dan, which means judge, and
I was just thinking like it's just like such like a common name that it almost seems like a little silly.
well, most names actually come from the Bible. I mean, you
Well,
get
I know
Matt,
that.
Matthew.
I know that, but like looking back with the perspective that we have now, it's like oh gosh, like what, like it makes me think of like a Fox like show where like they're talking about heaven or something, and like God is just like this guy named John or whatever. Like I don't know. That was just the thing that popped into my head.
Oh, fair enough. Well, I get you. Yeah, it's like, oh, who's that? Is it Daniel? No, it's just Dan.
Just Dan. Yeah,
It's just Dan. That's
I'm thinking like my uncle Dan. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, well, the tribe of Dan got around, and there's a whole bunch of history for that too. Like some people think Scotland was named after his Egyptian wife, but anyway. So yeah, this Ethiopian like Jewish sect has been there for thousands of years, and current day there's actually more Ethiopian Jews living in Israel than there are in Ethiopia. Like they all just migrated. There's like 140,000 in Israel and like 25 to 30K that still live in Ethiopia. And you look up pictures online and you'll find that they do actually have like the Jewish beards, because Africans in general tend to have like more curly facial hair.
Mm-hmm.
And then most of these people do have like the straight Jew beards that go down, maybe a little curly, but not too much. They're mostly a little paler skin, and obviously they're of Jewish descent,
Yeah.
intermixed with African tribes, and they're the only ones that actually believe in the Book of Enoch. And this is just fascinating. And there's a ton of conspiracy theories from a bunch, and maybe it's not conspiracy, but it's just theory from a bunch of different sects of religious individuals that believe that they actually have the Ark of the Covenant and have had it for like since Jesus.
Really?
Yeah, like they're like the
Wow.
caretakers who just like, no, we don't got it. We swear, don't dig there, but we don't have
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. We promise. Pinky swear.
Hmm.
All right. So
Yeah.
what other interesting things have been taken out of the Bible?
Um, it's really just the mistranslations and how it's been just perversed, and a lot of it's like I don't know, like you know, does anyone speak ancient Greek anymore or Aramaic?
I actually tried to learn Aramaic at one time. I think I was like inspired by watching The Passion of the Christ or something. I'm like, I'm gonna learn a dead language, like, and that lasted, of course, about a week and a half. And because you can't learn Aramaic, as it turns out.
Yeah, you can't learn Aramaic,
You
you
really
can't learn
can't.
ancient Greek, you can't learn ancient Hebrew because no one speaks it, so you have nothing to compare it to.
Exactly.
And this is when I said like at the beginning of the video that you really have like an issue with the translations is because no one speaks it anymore. Like what we have, you know, for 2,000 to 5,000, 6,000 years has been pretty much like a telephone game among people as far as like what this means and what that means. Um, it's been handed down and handed down and handed down, and every single time it's been like a little tainted, just a little bit, and sometimes it's been a lot tainted.
Well, and then once you get a lot of like little changes over the course of like millennia, that leads to something being completely different than when it started, I would think.
Yeah, 100%. Like once again, like you get to like you're supposed to kill a witch, and then you go to another Bible, the one that I promote, and it says you shall not save a witch or a sorceress or a sorcerer that's in trouble, which is a big difference in my mind. But
Mm-hmm. So, okay, so that to me, if I was told I should not save a sorcerer that's in trouble, what immediately comes to mind for me is like sorcerers are in a battle and one of them has been mortally harmed and you should just let him die. Don't do anything to save him.
um, possibly, yeah, or it could be. I've seen other translations too when they talk about it being illusionist. And this is a weird thing about like magic in the Bible as well, is that like when a lot of like prominent modern day Christian societies, religions tend to like look at anyone who practices paganism, as you might say,
Mm-hmm.
they just lump them all into one category. Whereas like you go to the Bible and they actually there's a list, there's a lot of different like practitioners of magic. Like there's different rules for like sorcerers, for necromancers, for like seers, for all kinds of stuff. Like, well, yeah, wizards have their own thing. Like, there's a variety, and it does change depending on which Bible you're looking into for sure. But there's a variety of casters out there, not just like she's a witch, burn.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as like the best way I can interpret that is, it almost seems like a protection thing to me. So, like, as opposed to like, you shall not allow a witch to live, then, you know, if you see a sorcerer in trouble, don't save them. That almost seems like, hey, if you see someone and they're drowning in a river, don't let them pull you down with you.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, maybe not like, you know, leading you to evil, but maybe they have nefarious intent and they weren't really drowning. They're just going to rob you afterwards. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. But yeah, there's
So,
a,
oh, go ahead.
oh no, that's fine. Yeah.
No,
What's your question?
I was just gonna say, like, so before we get to the big reveal about what Bible you think is correct and why, like, how does it feel to you having done kind of all this research and looked into all these different books and have obviously read extensively about them? Like, how does it feel to you to watch, people who really think they're being good, God-fearing Christians just get so much stuff wrong?
Um, there's a bunch to that, I guess. Like for one, like I notice a lot of people, like especially like televangelists, they piss me off so much because I can tell they're smart, at least business wise, and they're just using kind of like God and religion to benefit themselves. They may preach the word of God, but they certainly don't act like it. And then whenever I see people that are just kind of going along, like I don't actually like. It's a little frustrating for sure, but I have to say, like Jesus did say, "Hey, the Gentiles, you guys are going to heaven too." And I assume that anyone who doesn't actually fully understand the Christian faith um, will go to heaven, even if they're, you know, you're 13 and you're thinking like God is bullshit, and you know about Jesus, but you don't believe in him. Certainly, you've never seen any proof, and then just I think you're a Gentile without that, and so I don't feel bad, but it is a little frustrating whenever people try to preach at me, I suppose. But
Hmm.
everyone else is just kind of like, I think you're good. You could be better, but I think you're good.
I mean, that's one of the things that really kind of like aggravates me about Christians a lot of times is that like I feel like their actions don't align with my perception of what I think Christ taught.
Um, yeah, for sure,
Hmm.
100%. Even the Old Testament, there's I think my favorite one is Psalms 1. Whenever people start to like just yelling at, well, other people about like, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. Even with the abortion debate, which you guys can hate me on this, but Psalms 1, and a lot of people quote Psalms for various reasons, but blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor standeth in the way of sinners, and nor sitteth in the seat of the scornful. Like literally, it's just kind of telling you right there, like, hey, if someone's smoking crack on the street, it's not your business to intervene.
Not your job.
Yeah, not your job. You just live your life to the best you can. And if you can convert him, through cool means, great. But it's not your job to go and stop someone from doing evil unless it's being done upon you, your family, so forth.
Hmm.
Just my personal belief, but everyone has their own.
Well, it's kind of like so when I remember back when I was in the debate on Elijah Schaffer's channel with like that nutcase Lauren Witzke who thinks she's like the best Christian ever, but is just a judgmental bitch. Like so I was doing some prep for that debate with like an actual like Christian, and he was telling me that what like all the Bible says about the government is that you're supposed to like pray for the people in government, essentially that they're going to do a good job, but it doesn't tell you to like actually legislate your morality. It's like you're supposed to pray that good people get elected, and then you do your stuff in church and let them do whatever their thing is in the government.
Um, yeah, I don't know if I agree with it. Just pray they do a good job. Well, you got your vote. I mean, how about first and foremost, you just like do a good job yourself? I mean, like it's not even like the Bible says this. So does Jordan Peterson. So do a lot of like philosophers and psychologists. Like first, clean your own room, make your own
Yeah,
household.
and I probably totally like misrepresented what he actually told me just because it's been about a year and a half now and I forget things because I do. But I think like what he was trying to say was like it's not the role of a Christian to actually like legislate your morality into law. It's more like you have to vote for the best people, and then you have to pray that they have the wisdom to do the right thing, sort of thing.
Yeah, but then again, like if they're not godly either, I mean, I have a thing about prayer where I believe it works and I believe it doesn't at the same time. Like there is kind of a plan, but if you pray Hunter Biden to do a good job, I don't necessarily think he will. He'll probably still smoke crack and get some hookers.
Well,
I
he
mean,
could
there are
maybe do a
limits to that.
he could maybe do a good job with like one specific thing. Like he has
Yeah,
grace for a moment, he accomplishes a task, and then he goes back to his hookers and blow.
yeah. Like prayer, I think does work completely, but it has to be like both ways. Like the other person wants to do a good job too.
Well, they have to. I mean, everyone has free will, so no
Yeah.
one can force you to do something you don't want to do.
That's a whole nother thing too. Is free will is actually very important, and that's when people say like, "Why do bad things happen on Earth?" It's because we have free will. Like the greatest gift we have
Mm,
is free will, and that's kind of why bad things happen because there are bad people, and they
ooh.
have to be able to do bad in order to damn themselves.
See, I really disagree with that. I think that there's a lot of times I do think a lot of bad things happen because of free will, definitely, but I also think there many times is a greater spiritual purpose for bad things happening.
That is true too. Like bad things tend to make us stronger, more resilient, better off in the long run. And what? Honestly, like I'm not saying I have all the answers. That's just my opinion. And
Hmm.
I probably never will. I doubt any of us will. But as long as you're not a dickhead who's fucking up someone else's life, then I think you're doing good.
Cool. So Brent, what is the correct Bible?
All right. We'll get to it. Yeah,
Big reveal.
the oldest one that I can find is actually called the Septuagint, and
Septuagint.
yeah, and
Okay.
I've actually I read it quite a bit. There's been there's like two different translations of it, but it's pretty good in general. And historically, it's the oldest Bible there is. Like I even spoke with Michael Knowles about this, um, and like I asked him about this, and he even said that yeah, this is the Bible that Jesus would have read.
Mm.
So if Jesus had read a Bible, it would have been the Septuagint.
How old is it?
Um, it's pre-Jesus, so it's before
Oh,
Jesus. Yeah, and
so
then it's
so
also
no New Testament then.
no, it does. It was actually kind of
Oh.
upgraded to the I think they call it the LXX or something like that, where pretty much it was upgraded and included the New Testament afterwards. And also, it's backed up historically, pretty much verbatim by the Dead Sea Scrolls, which were discovered roughly, well, they were around 70 AD. And so even the modern versions have been relatively untouched.
Okay. What are some things that Bible says that other Bibles don't say? Why is
Uh,
that Bible like the best? Well, besides like the timing of it, like what makes that Bible the right one to look at?
I would say because it is the most untouched through multiple generations of translation. You even have like the oldest Latin Bible that was dated back at like 1500 AD that the Catholic Church has. So I mean, you're talking about like one of the oldest Bibles printed, at least, was back to 1500 AD, whereas the Septuagint goes back 2,000 years, so 1,500 years prior to that, with historical matching from the Dead Sea Scrolls for being accurate as far as how people viewed things at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, like, it's also one of the things where thou shalt not allow a witch to live. Well, the Septuagint is the one that says, ye shall not save the lives of sorcerers. It seems to be a more compassionate version of the Bible that makes a lot more sense to me. And
Mm.
the language in general, it does vary depending on who tries to interpret it, because once again, like ancient Greek, Aramaic, so forth, no one really speaks it. But there's a lot of things where it doesn't say like a man shall not lay with another man, but it says like a man shall not lay with a male prostitute or a young boy.
Oh, so it doesn't hate the gays.
It doesn't hate the gays as much, depending on who is translating it or who looks at it. But it's one of the ones where it's definitely in contestation for those. It's a lot less about murder. It's a lot more about living a good life and kind of forgiving other people and just trying to worship God.
See, that's what A Course in Miracles is like too. It's just about like here are things you need to do to live your best life and don't carry around unnecessary anger and stuff like that.
Uh, yeah, pretty much. I mean, you read the Old Testament besides some of the stuff, and I haven't like gone in depth. Like, I've done a lot of translations to try to figure shit out. Like, God made the earth in 6 days, whatever. Um, then like the ancient Aramaic word actually has three different meanings, and one is day, like a 24-hour period that we think of it, and
Mm-hmm.
then another one is actually a period of time with an end, which is a lot different because that means he could have had 6 periods of time with an end. So that could have been 5 billion years since the Earth was around. And there's a lot of just messed up things that you really have to think about and go through to fully understand the Bible. And if you don't, then that doesn't mean you're wrong or the Bible's wrong. That just means maybe you haven't thought about it enough or researched enough.
So what are some things that we're gonna find in like the Septuagint that we aren't gonna find in like, the King James Bible?
Uh, some specific things.
Yeah.
I have to admit I am completely terrible with verses.
Well, I mean,
So
just like you need to give a basic gist. I'm not expecting you to quote, chapter and verse.
uh, gotcha. Cancel that. The basics things are it's subtle differences that really just put a different light to it, and even then, you still have to go through and do some actual research. And the reason why I say this is the best Bible, it's because it's been the most untouched. So it's from a historical, just scientific base point that this is the one that is the most untouched and has not been, I would say, kind of perverted over the years. That is why I think it's the best.
Okay.
And I
But you
will say
also
that
said
it's
it was the most compassionate.
From what I've read, yes. So everything seems to be just a little softer. Like I haven't looked into, if someone is wearing clothes of different fabrics, then you should kill them. I have not checked that one out yet. But
Are we allowed to eat like shrimp and shellfish?
no,
No, still
not
still
not to my
forbidden.
knowledge. Yes, and no animal that has a cloven hoof. Sorry.
Well, it is what it is.
However, go into that with the New Testament and Jesus, depending on what you believe in Christianity, and from my understanding, is pretty much that all sins are pretty much equal, and so that's pretty much just about asking for forgiveness and doing your best to be a good person.
So what is Jesus like in this version of the Bible?
He's a cool dude. He likes to play dominoes.
Yeah, they have dominoes back then. They have Parcheesi.
Yeah, well, it's mainly dice. Lots of
Mm-hmm.
gambling.
Mm-hmm.
No, kind of the same, but honestly, I'm really looking forward to reading the books of Thomas and Peter. I haven't gotten to those yet, and yeah, he's pretty much the same, just a lot of wisdom and being a nice guy. I mean, I don't think anyone read. There's not really too much of a difference between Jesus from any Bible that I've seen. And don't get me wrong, I have not read 2,000 Bibles and compared them equally, but Jesus, for the most part, hasn't changed too much. But I'm gonna have to read Thomas and Peter and see what they edited out.
So tell us about this Bible bread. What's in it that we should know about? I feel like you have ancient wisdom at your fingertips, and you're like holding back and not telling us what it is.
I don't. I'm gonna say I don't. No, I don't. Sorry. Started this off with I'm not a theologian. I'm just saying that this Bible is the oldest and most accurate that I can find, and it does have differences, and that's for everyone to discover. I mean, how many people have actually read the Bible all the way through? Not many. So
All the way through.
yeah, how many have actually read it all the way through?
Yeah.
Show of hands in the chat. No, if you
How
are
many
looking
people in
for,
the chat have read the Bible? Go ahead. Sorry.
there's quite a few churches that are actually like gaining like speed on this as far as like going back to the ancient Greek version, which is the Septuagint technically. And now one thing I will say about the Septuagint that I find very interesting is the reason why they call it the Septuagint is it was written by 72 different rabbis from all 13 tribes of Israel. Each tribe had six, or yeah, six. Yeah. Anyway, like rabbis that actually did the translation, and they all matched up. So they were all pretty much accurate and combined together. I found that very interesting. But like ancient wisdom from the Septuagint, that's kind of the same as the rest of the Bibles, but there are some differences as far as pretty much like it might not be bad to be gay, which makes sense to me. Don't be wrong, I'm not gay. I don't like penis, but cool. And yeah, it also don't kill people, don't burn a witch. That makes sense. And
Don't burn anyone, I would think.
oh well, I didn't see it say that in there. It just said thou shalt not murder. But so subtle differences, some major differences, but I just find it to be the oldest and most historically accurate. And so if you do read the Bible, that's the one I would trust.
So why do so many Christians hate the gays then?
Well, honestly, I have no idea. For one, it's none of their damn business. For two, all right, Psalms 1. All right, don't stand in someone else's way to sin. I mean, that's not up to you. That's between them and God, their sin. Unless it directly affects you, which I doubt, whatever someone does in their bedroom really affects you, then leave it alone. Two, I don't even understand the effects of gay marriage. Like honestly, if you are going to get married, like a man and a man, and someone marries you, whether they're a priest, a pastor, whatever, well, it's only God that blesses that marriage. It's not that person. That person can't command God to do so. So does it really matter? Is God beholden to that person to bless that marriage? No. It's ridiculous. It's just a ceremony it'd be like if God blessed an abortion. Or I'm sorry, if a priest blessed an abortion. Really? You think God's going to bless that then? Just curious. Makes no sense.
So does Allie Beth Stuckey have a leg to stand on when she says that she's not allowed to congratulate gay men on having kids? according to this Bible, or any Bible, really, any
No,
Bible at all.
you know what? I have not seen anything in any scripture anywhere that says you're not allowed to congratulate anyone. I've never seen anything like you cannot congratulate anyone for anything. Maybe there's something in there like thou shalt not celebrate like a stealing a child or something. I don't know. Can't have nothing off the top of my head, but
But what if that child is given willingly, like adoption?
oh my God.
Does
Oh,
the
that'd be so
Bible
terrible.
does the Bible condemn adoption?
Not to my knowledge. No, matter of fact, it actually kind of encourages it, and it also kind of encourages if a woman becomes a widow to, like, if your brother dies and he has a wife, then to actually marry that woman
Like
to take
Hunter
care of her.
Biden. Like Hunter Biden. It's come
Well,
full
no,
circle.
he just kind of had sex with a wife. He didn't actually marry her and take care of her. Big difference. I'm sure there's a lot of crack cocaine involved.
That's probably true.
No, but geez, there's a lot of things in the Bible that I think are just misconstrued in general, and a lot of that is because of just so many variations out there.
Like what? What other rules? What other rules can we ignore that Christians try to force us into?
Oh, rules that you can ignore?
Yes.
Well, for one, like technically you can ignore just about any of them.
Excellent.
So long as you're actually like sorry if you did something bad.
Ugh. But what if I'm not sorry?
Well, that's between you and God, girl. That ain't between me and you.
So you're still so if I do something awful, which of course I would never ever 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 do, and I'm not sorry for it, it's still none of your business to condemn me.
No, I mean like the only one who's supposed to judge is like God. Like the difference is whenever it comes between if you affect someone else.
Okay.
And that's when like pretty much God gives you purview. Like you're not supposed to kill somebody, but if it's war, then it's fine. Someone invades your town, that's okay. You know, then it's fine to pick up a sword or a rifle, whatnot, defend yourself and your family. Now, you know, if you just randomly are in New York City and you're some crazed person that doesn't like Chinese people and you shove them onto the you know, in front of the train, then that's bad. That's murder. Yeah. Like doing drugs too. I mean, everything pretty much says like everything in moderation is pretty much fine. So like booze drinking is fine. Like Noah was a renowned alcoholic. And he was okay with the first thing Noah said pretty much when he got off the ark was like, that would be the perfect spot for a vineyard right there, that hill. All right. Daddy needs his drink. And it's just like everything in moderation though. But like sins in general, they're meant to be forgiven. They're meant to be like penance. You're meant to feel bad about it or try to not do it to begin with. But none of us are perfect. And that's kind of the point. So, I mean, as long as you're okay with, well, if you're not okay with being not perfect, then try harder. But we'll all fail at that. And just ask for forgiveness, do the best you can, and mainly the golden rule, you know, do unto others as you would do unto yourself. And you're pretty much going to be okay.
So is there a hell? Is hell real?
That right there is a interesting question. And I would say probably not.
Aha! Why do you say that?
They go back to like the Book of Enoch, which a lot of people don't believe, which is cool. But he does actually mention seeing like a pit where there's a completely dark pit with the clamoring of souls that are screeching out in anguish or like terror, waiting for the day of judgment. And as far as hell is concerned, I wouldn't actually see a use for it. And I haven't actually seen any like definitive thing like thou shalt burn besides in, well, you know, Dante's Inferno or something. But from my understanding, it's pretty much like whenever Judgment Day does come, people rise to heaven, and the other ones just pretty much cease to exist. Like you delete the bad files on your computer. So who knows? Maybe this is a simulation, and God is just the simulator.
So then, why do I hear from Christians all the time that I'm going to hell? Unless I join their church and read their badly translated version of the Bible.
Well, I hear from a lot of people a lot of stupid shit all the fucking time, and I even say stupid shit. So, I mean, well, plus like we're founded off the like Protestants and the Puritans who are pretty much uptight kind of cunts to begin with, and
Hmm.
so they just had a lot of like judgmental, really preachy, like damny ideas. I mean, you talk with Jennifer, and like she's talking like, oh, yeah, had to wear a dress constantly. You couldn't show anything below your neckline, or you'll be caned 14 times.
Hmm. Well, Jennifer actually is asking an interesting question in the chat. She says, "Are there any mythical creatures mentioned in this version of the Bible?
I think there are in the normal Bible too, or most normal Bibles. Yeah.
Like what?"
Actually, give me 1 second. I gotta be right back.
Hmm. Guys, while Brent is doing whatever it is Brent's doing, please mount that like button for me, and please make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you have not already. As a reminder, I will be live again tonight at about 9:30 for Nothing Remotely Controversial. So definitely make sure to pop back to join us if you have not yet. It is a fun show. We have a really good time with it. And also make sure to check out the event that I'm doing with Gabrielle Clark at 8 o'clock tonight. The link is in the pin to the top of the chat. It's at activelyunwoke.com/events. If you have kids in school, this is something you're definitely going to want to take advantage of. And hopefully Brent comes back and explains to us whether or not there are like unicorns and other mythical beings in the Bible and things like that. I also just want to remind everyone that I do not allow my guests to be insulted while they're on my stream. So if you have thoughts about what Brent is saying, you can keep them to yourself. It's okay. You can say nice things. You can't say mean things. If you say mean things, you're going to get put in a timeout because I do not allow my guests to be attacked by the chat because they've been good enough to come and tell us about their thoughts on things, and we should respect that. You don't have something nice to say, just keep it to yourself. That's all I ask. Sin says, I enjoyed this chat, just bought a Septuagint. Excellent, Sin. I'm gonna, I think, buy one as well. Brent has disappeared, never to return, apparently. Oh, I think I hear him coming. I think I do. Here he is. He's back.
I swear I didn't have to pee.
Well, you know, gotta do what you gotta do. So mythical beings, Brent, like giants and serpents and unicorns and aliens and.
Oh, well, I got some weird ideas on aliens. I don't know.
Okay.
Like they actually might be angels and demons. I'm not sure. Like, and then people are like, well, you go to like Book of Enoch back, and they're flying around and pretty much a flying saucer. And then I don't know if anyone's ever heard of Nuremberg, and I think it's like 1564.
What?
Pretty much Nuremberg, 1564, town in Germany. You know, they finally had like a newspaper out then, really kind of ghetto printing press. But like hundreds of people actually saw this sight in the sky, where there were circles and crosses flying around, fighting each other for hours.
Really?
Yeah, there's actually like imprints and pictures, pretty much of like the printing press that they used to print on the newspaper. Google it, everybody, if you want to. There's photos of it. It's very fascinating how you have circles and crosses flying in the 5th or 16th century around, and very interesting story. But pretty much like these flying things going around destroying each other, and it was just like early morning, just before dawn.
Mm-hmm.
But they said that the sky lit up right, and then all these things went around and just started going crazy. And so, hey, who knows? Maybe aliens or UFOs are actually angels, or the fallen demons. Who knows? As far as like mythological creatures are concerned, I still look at the Nephilim and go, "What the hell?" The Nephilim are kind of crazy, and they're all over every Bible, and also throughout most cultures in history too, which is pretty fascinating.
Well, explain to us what that is for those of us who don't know.
Nephilim are pretty much gods that descended to Earth and mated with human women, creating a race of, well, they call them giants, and it varies depending on like what culture you talk to, and then also like in the Bible they're big, but they're not like giant. So you're talking like average height back then was roughly like 5'5", 5'7", something like that, pretty small. And then you're talking about a dude being like 6'6", 7 foot tall as Nephilim.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, supposedly they were pretty much like the land of Cain, Canaan, where Cain settled his city and like founded a civilization. some scouts went there once, and they're like, "Oh, there's a bunch of Nephilim here." Yeah, they looked at us like we were just insects, and we looked at them like they were giants because they're big dudes. Like
Isn't
I
there
would.
like an imprint of a foot or something that exists? Am I
There's a
making that up?
no, no, you're not. There's like some evidence. There's some of the crazier stuff when you get to like the ancient alien part of it, where there's 13-foot tall bone skeletons hidden under the Smithsonian, which I don't fucking know about. I don't believe because I've never seen them. But there certainly has been a like Native American tradition. There was some like there's a thing where like whenever you put out your hand, hand, how white man, as they say in the movies, probably
Mhm.
racist now. That was
Definitely
actually because
racist.
Nephilim supposedly had 6 fingers. So to prove that you weren't pretty much one of these Nephilim, you put out your hand. I got 5.
Oh. Mhm.
And so, yeah, I would say the most mythological creature I could think of would be the Nephilim, which would be a half god or pretty much half angel, and then half man. And then, of course, there was a period of time where God said, "No more of that because it's getting weird, perverts." And so he forbidded angels from actually breeding with human women. And surprisingly, though, after the flood, apparently Nephilim survived, and so did everyone else. But that's another topic too.
All right.
Oh,
All right. Well, what else do we need to know about this Bible, Brent? What other notes do you have for us?
I would say for the Bible, I don't want to impose upon anyone. Um, like if you read a Bible, just go ahead and read your Bible. If you want to check out the Septuagint, though, I would strongly recommend it because it's the most historically accurate. You will see subtle differences that will change your perspectives, and I can't go throughout the entire thing and point out each individual thing. I'm sorry, I'm very terrible with verses and memorizing them. It's just bad. I got Leviticus 18:22 mixed up so many times. I was kept typing in 22:18, and I did that like 4 times yesterday. But yes, Jennifer Goliath. Well, he might have been the last one.
Yep. That's what I wanted to show. Yep. Well, I'm feeling like I need to watch Ancient Aliens again or something. I need to review.
There's a lot of interesting stuff, and like some people actually think that pretty much most ancient gods, like from Norse religions as well as South American religions, were actually angels, and pretty much they were just fucking around until God was finally just like, stop. All right, cool, that's enough. But I don't know. It's just a theory.
What do you think are some of the most important lessons that people, if they were to read the Bible, should take from it? If you were have to identify like 1 or 2.
Well, 10 Commandments aren't bad for sure, but for one, the golden rule. Number 1 would be the golden rule. All right, do unto others as you would do unto yourself. So, yeah, that's pretty damn simple. Do you want to get punched in the face? No, then don't punch someone in the face. You like someone yelling at you when you're at work? Don't yell at someone when they're at work. That's a pretty damn easy one. Do unto others as you would do unto you. The second one that I would strongly recommend is, and it's kind of an overarching theme through the Bible, and it's kind of the idea behind God, whether you believe in Him or not, is to have a sense of humility. Realize that you are not the center of the universe. Be grateful for what you have, which is part of humility, and then, live the best you can.
Now, what do you say to people like this who say, actually, in the nicest way possible, Brent is misinforming everyone listening right now. If it's intentional or unintentional, yet it's to be seen. Not everything is wrong, but the really important stuff is. Brent, what do you say to that?
What really important stuff? You just gonna leave it there? Like what really important stuff?
Well, I feel like this is what Christians do when they don't want to give specific details about what people got wrong, because that's going to completely undercut whatever credibility they have.
The really important stuff is missing. What is that? I don't know.
Yeah. What is the really important stuff? I mean, because like you've literally just said, like, treat everyone the way you want to be treated, and like be a good person, and maybe have a little humility, and that's really it.
Yeah,
Those
my
are the big
bad.
lessons.
RNZA. Yo, dog, I'll catch you on the flip side. All right. Or if you want, cash me outside, dog.
No, but I mean, I think this is like an important question though, because it's like I think that this is one of the things that really bothers me about Christians, in not all Christians, obviously, like we're having a nice conversation, but Christians in general, where they demand that their perspective and their point of view is the only thing that matters. Every time someone else says anything, they're wrong. But oftentimes, their behaviors are not backed up by the book they claim is theirs.
That's because they lack humility. They put themselves on a high ass pedestal. Like I started this off saying, like I'm probably wrong about a bunch of stuff, and maybe he's right, or she, or it, or they, them, theirs. But like I get stuff wrong all the time. Everyone does, and this is
Mhm.
just my perception, my review, my research that I've done, and yeah, grab. Maybe it sucks. Who knows? But point is, everyone is wrong at some point, and don't put yourself on a pedestal. Have a little bit of humility. If you do believe in God and you don't have some humility, then you're fucking up. And you know what? I'll go out and not supposed to judge. So sorry, Jesus, but yeah, I'm judging you. You're an arrogant asshat. Go fuck yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, Brent, is there anything else on your list that you wanted to make sure that we talked about for today?
You know what? Final notes.
Yeah.
So join my OnlyFans. Tonight is potato night, so you can guess. And that's it. No, thanks for listening, guys.
Well, Brent, thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it. I always enjoy your perspective. And thank you for having the chat with us today. And I hope people enjoyed it as well. Guys, mount that like button if you enjoyed the chat with Brent. And you can catch him trolling around on Twitter most days. Or if you want to talk to him and tell him all the things he got wrong and take that 200 character limit away, I guess you can come to my locals community Zoom and do it all in front of us, and we can all be entertained as Brent proves you wrong. Pretty much probably on every point, which is what I think would probably happen.
Peace.
Yeah. All right, Brent, I'm going to take you off the screen. I'm going to chill for a little bit and then I'll be right back with you. Guys, again, if you would like to join my locals and hash out your differences with Brent in person, you could do that by heading over to kb.locals.com/support, and you can join up for $5 a month or for $50 a year or make a one-time gift. All of those things are going to get you access to my locals community Zoom calls, which occur on Mondays at 7 p.m. and on Wednesdays at noon. Brent is a regular on those calls, and so you can come and tell him that he is a wrongful sinner and going to hell in a handbasket, and hell is a real place. Not everyone has to agree, guys, is the thing. And when I'm sorry, Christians in the chat, when you come across as judgmental assholes that say you are the only correct ones and everyone else is wrong, people like me don't tend to like you very much. So, if you want to come and make your case, I guess you're welcome to do it. Maybe, though, just listening to someone else's perspective would be the right way to go. Again, guys, we are not going to be ending our streaming tonight. This is but the first stream of the day. The next one comes up at 9:30 tonight. And that is Nothing Remotely Controversial with Joshua. We do news and psychics. So if you have burning questions and you want to find out what is going on in the world, you can come and ask Joshua your questions tonight at 9:30 p.m. on this channel. But if you have kids in school, you still have a little bit more time, maybe like an hour and a half, to sign up for this event with Gabrielle Clark that I am doing tonight. It is a two-part event. We're doing the first part tonight. We're doing the second part on Thursday. And Gabrielle is going to talk about how she deprogrammed her daughter from the gender cult that she was socially transitioned into in school. And that is coming up tonight. So you have a little bit more time to sign up, but not much more time. If you can't make it to the show tonight, or if you can't make it on Thursday, we will be recording it. So you will be able to get access to those recordings as well. Yes, Brian, I do make fun of judgmental fuckers like you in the chat because you guys just can't help yourselves but to come in and be arrogant when other people are expressing a perspective that you disagree with. So, yeah, I will make fun of you because I'm not a Christian. I'm not worried about going to hell because I don't think that hell is a real place. All right, guys, that's all I have for right now. I will see some of you at 8 p.m. for our show tonight. I will see more of you at Nothing Remotely Controversial at 9:30. Take care. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll